Hey guys, thank you again for joining us for another exciting episode of YOMO. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So today we're on a brand new book, and again, this is Reflection 285. And I guess this is like, I don't know if it's a book, but it's like a collection of stories,
Yeah, it's a
maybe.
book. I mean, it's a book.
It's a book? Okay.
Yeah, we're doing speed YOML today, by the way. So I don't want to do that, but we got to do it. So this book is called 10 Stories, The 10 Stories Great Leaders Tell by the author Paul Smith. It's a collection of just like 10 stories that great leaders tell. I mean, that's it, right? Like it's story one, story two, story three, but it's in a book format, right? But it's like a list
Collection of stories.
a collection of stories. Yeah. So the 10 great stories leaders tell explores the journey behind the success and breaks down not just the importance of your company's story, but how crafty and compelling ones of your own last, right? So I'm not going to go through the stories, like the 10 stories. It's not really relevant to this whole thing, but the reflection of this one is a desk is a dangerous place from which to view the world. So keep that in your mind for a second. So before I wrote this reflection, started this off saying I couldn't sleep at all last night. This is fun reading this reflection today because it took me back to a different time. I was tossing and turning all night long, thoughts and visions in my head for the upcoming day. Just you ever have those nights like where we're just yeah. So this is one of those nights. So as is my habit these days when this happens, if I can't sleep, I just get up and I go write. And then I'm like, well, I got a lot of other stuff I'm gonna read, write, go get my workout in, whatever. I just exhaust myself. And then it's rare these days, but this happens regularly. I guess when I get into that hyper focused, I can't get my mind off of something where I can't sleep. I'll just get up and I'll go do my first things, By the time I'm done with my workout and listening to an audiobook and writing my reflection from whatever book I want to write, I'm usually pretty tired and I'll crash for like an hour or two until 8 o'clock, like I normally would have to get up anyway and take Luca to school. So I'll start my day at like 3:30 in the morning, and by 5:30 I'm done, or 6 o'clock I'm done. Then I'll go back to sleep from like 6 to 8 until my son wakes up and wakes me up on his monitor, and then I can go take him to school. So this is what happened on this particular day when I read my own writing. I was like, so what's on my mind? What's keeping me up? And I was like, well, thanks for asking. The upcoming day was a big one for Amelia and I, because in a few short hours as I wrote this reflection, I was introducing myself to my new team, the team that I've been managing for the past year now at the company that I left and I started this job. And my mind was racing. Like I knew exactly what I wanted to say. You and I had been working on this stuff for years and years. Meeting 8 new people can always be daunting, but I wasn't nervous about meeting them. I was excited. I wanted to do what you and I had been working on for so hard and so long, and so many conversations, so many hours, so many books that has gone into all this stuff, right? And I was so excited about okay, I can't wait to have this be like day one where we get to start their core values quest. It wasn't pure clubbity, but it was clubbity light, right? And I was excited to be able to start that journey with them. And they were all brand new hires. Like I hired a brand new team. I was brand new to this role for the most part. Like we all were brand new. I was setting the tone of what we were going to do. And my head was just spinning of like, how am I going to do that? What's that going to look like? What am I going to say? I wrote down, many different things, and I came up with different outlines, and I came up with so many different ways that I wanted to present all this information and try to find a way to not make it sound like their new boss was fucking crazy, right? I was just like pure adrenaline, like excitement to be able to go live our purpose, like what we care about, like live our mission, like the Club Any mission, and to bring it to life and to do it with these people. And I didn't take this job for no reason at all. I took this job for a very clear purpose. I didn't care about getting promoted. I didn't care about achieving goals or moving up the corporate ladder or whatever other bullshit. I didn't care about even compensation. I cared about the opportunity to help these people to find meaningful work and meaningful relationships, and to be able to set the stage from day one with a brand new set of people coming into a brand new role, to be able to build the culture that we want to try to create for the club and the ecosystem and this job. All of the work that you and I have put into this, all of the stuff that I've learned from Amelia, all the stuff that I've done with Amelia, like this was all leading up to this day. And it was a really big day. I wanted to see if this was possible in the real world or not. We had tried the core values quest to varying degrees of success, but we realized that wasn't the full solution, right? We'd kind of been dormant for a while, about 3-4 months just in this mode, podcast, doing what we're doing. Right. We didn't really know what our next steps were going to be with this whole project. This kind of presented itself. And I remember telling you how excited I was. Like, we can do this. We can make Club Any Light. Let's see what it looks like in the real world. I know this isn't the pure world that we want to get to, but let's see what happens. And let's see how we can make an impact. And a year later, I mean, I can definitely tell you it's definitely worked. And I've never been happier. I hate the fact that we're doing it in this corporate environment, because like there's so many complications that come from that. But like, but even in that world, it was hard to do, but we did it, and we've been doing it. We're still continuing to do it. So the reflection, one of the things that I heard in this 10 great stories of great leader, the 10 stories great leaders tell. There's this quote somebody said, I think it was one of the stories, was a desk is a dangerous place from which to view the world. And as it was like the day before, that I finished this book, and right before I was giving this presentation to them, and I'd planned it all out, and I had it all drawn up in my head, and I'd been visualizing it, all this stuff, right? This quote just hit me really hard. Like, you got to get in the world and mix it up, like we talked about this, about the mountains and valleys, right? Like, you can't live all day long in the mountains talking about philosophy and life and all the ideas and values and whatever, all the purpose stuff. Like, sometimes you just got to get in the fucking valley and mix the shit up, because a desk is a really dangerous place to view the world. Like, you got to mix it up and see what happens, right? So I was ecstatic to go mix it up. This was not pure clubbing. This is not pure clubbing today. Like, we are not doing it right now, but we are getting closer, and we're figuring out more and more and more every single day what works and what doesn't work, and what's helpful, what's not helpful, how to organize, these activities, how to do this stuff, and not even the perfect format, but like in some format, right? You got to get out in the world and mix it up, man. Like, I mean, that is the message of this. Like, a desk is a dangerous place to view the world. Like, because this is a Jordan B. Peterson. We talked about this the other day. It's great to sit back and just be an impartial observer of the world and like throw your critiques and your philosophies all over the place. But fuck you, to be put it bluntly. Like, get out in the world and go, if you have an idea and you have a philosophy, figure out if that shit works, right? Like, get out there and mix it up and see what happens. That's the great story that this leader is trying to tell, and that you try to tell, and that we're all trying to tell. So, finish at the end of this. I was tired of waiting for the grand vision of clubbing to come together. We took what we had and we tried it, and we're still trying it right now, and we'll figure it out. We'll keep figuring it out as we go. But that's it. I'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think he's right on, and this is not something that is new to us either. I mean, we hate philosophers, right? There's a reason why we hate them, because they tell you what to do, but they don't actually have skin in the game. So you and I can resonate with Nassim Taleb, like skin in the game, kind of saying, because when you have a core value, just like all the cultures of all the companies out there, they have a culture, they have a core value, they have the Ohana shit, and they have to do it, but they don't practice. You don't practice your core. I say, hey, I'm an honest person, right? I'm an honest person, but I don't practice that. What does that make me? Right?
Not an honest person.
I'm just a hypocrite.
Right.
And so you look at it, all the things that we've seen in today's society, they all use the same perspective. They view it from their own desk. And that, to me, is super, super dangerous, because they go out there, like you talk about the Peterson of the world, they're talking about, hey, I learned this from the book. Right? He has no experience in any of the things he talks about. He learns it from his textbooks, his whatever. And then he starts to become this clinical psychologist. That's why you and I hate philosophers so much, because it's not about philosophy. It's about
philosophy is great. Like, philosophy is great. It's the first. So.
And that's why when you and I read the book, Skin in the Game, or we talk about Soul in the Game, we resonate so much with it. And to me, this is the same line of thought, in terms of you cannot just do the things from a level, but not be immersed yourself in the practice. It's about practicing our core value. It's not say having core value. You can't have core values, right? It's about you doing core values, because if you don't do core values, it doesn't mean anything. It's more than just having an idea. You have to put. It's called practicing Stoics, for example. You put into practice core values. Like, if you say, well, I am honest, I am fun, I am whatever, I'm balanced, but you don't do any of those things. I mean, so to me, like 90%, 98% of all the things that make us who we are is by what we do.
Yes.
It's not what we say. So when you start to view the world from a desk, you have no idea how it feels, you have no idea how it works. And you say, well, I'm going to proclaim myself as an expert in self-development or balance. If you and I don't practice, we don't have any rights. We don't have any credentials to tell somebody how to work, how to live, how to do anything, because we have no soul in the game. And to me, that's the problem over and over again in many things that we come across. You're talking about the corporate world. You're talking about different group of people that Nassim Taleb is trying to balk at. And like I said, there are people who love Nassim and there are people who hate him, because the thing is, you either in the camp of, hey, I'm practicing, or I'm looking for the desk. And the people who's going to look for desk is not going to say, hey, I agree. I'm just going to say, well, I read so much books, I become an expert. Now I'm telling you, because that's what I'm saying is, to me, it's like in the past, it's like, for me, I don't have a PhD, right, in anything. But because I have work experience, I can fix things faster than a PhD can fix. I can probably come up with a solution better than a PhD can provide. Because it doesn't matter how much academics you have. You can spend 80 years in academics. It does not equate to even like 1 or 2 years of practice. Because in practice, it's totally different. There's so many nuances. That's why to be a master of your craft, you have to practice it. You have to practice mean doing things that aligns with it. So that's what I'm saying is, for us, the takeaway from this reflection is, to me, is yes, you have to act on your core values. You can't just have and claim to have core values. So claim to have core value is essentially, a view from your desk.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what it is. Like, you got to get out in the world and mix this shit up and see what.
So it's not about just like, hey, I'm going to the mountains and go back in the valley once in a while. No, you gotta go to the valley and do. To me, most of the time should be spent in the valley.
Well, I'm going to challenge that comment just a tiny second, because I think most people live in the valley. Almost everybody lives in the valley every single day. Very few people get out of the valley and think. I think that they should.
Right, but I'm saying 100%, right? Because
I'm just saying the hilarity of what you're talking about is 99% of our world is down in the valley floor every single day, but they never escape to the mountains. I'm saying escape to the mountains every day and then come back to the valley floor. Escape to the mountains, come back to the valley floor every day. You should do them both. Like, you shouldn't need to go to an ashram somewhere for 3 weeks to do a meditation. I'm sure you got some cool experiences and then you come back, but then you got to go in the real world and you're like, how do I apply this controlled environment setting into this, which is chaos? That's where the real learning starts to happen, is when you have to take an idea that you learned somewhere else in your mind and try to apply it back to the chaos of the valley floor. Most people never leave the chaos. Like, they never even go get an idea to come back to try out in the valley floor. Like, that's where philosophers do a good job, right? They get an idea, but then they never come back to the valley floor. You need to be in the valley floor every day, but you also need to be thinking every day too. So for me, it's both.
Right, and I agree. It's not about like having a summation of, hey, there is a certain percent of time I'll be in the mountain and a certain time I'll be in the valley. It's about that yin and the yang, because the thing is, you have to talk to your elephant every day. And then, for example, it's about having gone to the mountain and down the valley every single day, but you spend 1 hour in the mountain and then 23 hours in the valley in practice. But you have to do that every day, not just, hey, I spent 1 year in the mountain and then 9 years in the valley. That doesn't work like that. And I agree with that assessment. I mean, completely, because that's how you practice and because not only that you have to go to the mountain, but the other thing that comes into play is you have to communicate how does the mountain and valley interact. Reminds me of, the rider and elephant. In some interval, be the rider and say, hey, I can take all these things in and I can maybe formulate something new, and I'm going to communicate to the elephant and ask the elephant to go and do the thing, but then get out of my own way so that the elephant can perform the work that you dream up with. That, to me, that's the yin and the yang. You cannot separate the two, and you cannot continue to say, well, I'm going to spend a year in the mountain and I do all that, and then suddenly I come down and I leave. Because the thing is, there's always these cycles of adjustments you have to make for you to continue to be a master at your own craft. Because having the feedback is part of the system. It's part of the yin and the yang. So you can't just separate the yin and the yang from itself. Right. So to me, what you say, I 100% agree, and that I think is worth noting and it worth be aware of what you do. So you can't really isolate yourself from one part of the other. You have to say, hey, it goes together, and it's basically the cycles of what you do on every day. But without having those two, You can't have one or the other, because
Right.
like let's say you practice something, right? But you don't think about what you practice. You can practice the wrong thing, right? And then you think about it and you don't practice, then what good does it do? What good does it do?
It's pointless. This is what I just
And-
did for the past month with my month of tennis. I thought a lot about how do you hit a good backhand slice. I researched it. I watched videos. I spent time at my desk watching Roger Federer hit backhand slices. He's like the master of backhand slices, right? I watched coaches give YouTube videos. Obviously, I know how to hit a backhand slice my whole life, but I was like, but I really need to understand how
you
to hit a
know,
backhand.
but the elephant doesn't know.
But my elephant doesn't know, right? So actually, it's like I talk about Valley floor stuff. For the first 15 days of that challenge, I hit a different backhand slice because I thought that was what I was supposed to do, because I'm listening to interpretations of other people and I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Eventually, I just said, fuck it. I'm going to let my body just do what I feel like it should do to hit this ball the way that I wanted to hit it. And all of a sudden, it was like 1 out of 5 shots, I would hit this perfect shot. And I was like, whoa, what did I just do? Like, and this is no joke. Like, it took me until almost the end of the month of doing this, almost all month long, before I was like, the first initial pass of what I tried to do, it's not even close to that shot anymore. And I'm like, oh, now I can totally feel it. I can see it. I can feel it. It's 1000% different shot. And then it gets even better. Like when you're down in the Valley floor and then you go back and you think about it. Because I wrote every single morning about 366 days of tennis, because that was what I was doing. I used my little daily reflection time for that, and I was writing about the stuff. And I was like, you know what? I've always struggled with my backhand volleys. I have no backhand volleys. I use a two-handed backhand volley, which nobody hits a two-handed backhand volley. And I really take a full cut at it, which I know you're not supposed to do. I've always known this, but I've gotten away with it for many, many years because I don't really I'm a baseliner. I don't really play a volley game when I'm playing singles. And doubles, I can get away with it because I'm already at the net and I can, I actually learned how to hit a really powerful two-handed backhand, full cut, very quick-handed delivery. Like when people are like, how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know how to hit a real backhand. So I just have developed this shot. And people were like, that's insane. And I'm like, yeah, I know it is. How I've adapted to be able to hit a bad shot and turn it into something good. But if I learned how to hit a backhand slice this way, I was like, why can't my backhand volley be like that? So I was like, well, what if I just try to hit my backhand volleys like that? So I just set up my little ball machine to hit me backhand volleys, and I started hitting it the same way I was hitting my backhand slices from the baseline. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I have like really good control and really good power on this. And I can direct it where I want to direct it. And I was like, son of a fucking bitch. I was like, my whole life, everybody always said, you just got to push the ball. Just go forward, go forward, go forward. And I'm like, how do you go forward when my hand is kind of like this? I'm like, when I go forward, it's like the racket is tilted this way a little bit. I would always pop the ball up. So that's why I started hitting two hands, because I would come over the top to get it to come back down. That was why I did this. But then I started hitting my backhand slices and I learned how to cut the ball at this angle going this way, not this way. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, what the fuck? This is what was going on in my head. I was like, that's a really easy shot to hit. Now I understand. These are the things that was clicking in my head because of being on the Valley floor, but then going back into the mountains and going, wait a minute, I did this like that way. And what if I wrote about this? What if I did this? I was thinking in my own head, let's go try that out today. That's what I did. Like that, and that's what worked. This is the point, right? You could spend all day long watching YouTube videos and all day long listening to coaches, but it took me 35 days roughly now to figure this shit out, right? It was the Valley floor that helped me to find that. Now, whenever I want to coach that someday, I can explain to somebody, but they're not going to understand until they're
not going to understand it. And this is what we said yesterday. You have to look up to somebody you admire and use that as inspiration to make it your own, because the yin and yang cycle provides the feedback loop. And the feedback loop is what gives you the insights. Because without the feedback loop of the insight, you cannot continue to advance. So that's what I'm saying is, because they can say, okay, I can tell you how I did it, but I have different structures, bones and muscles, and the conditioning of my body is different. When I hit something, it works for me, but you may have maybe a strength on one end or the weakness on the other end. It doesn't work for you. That's how. So you cannot teach somebody. So you cannot profess your philosophy onto somebody and practice yourself.
Right,
and then
right.
For the most part, when you practice, the results and the feedback is mainly for you. It's not even for the people that you teach, because the people they have a different composition.
Yeah.
Right. And so the way we teach is not about, hey, I've learned this way. No, I say, this is what I've done. you see how I did it, try it, and then practice it and see how you can make it your own. Not do it exactly the way I did because I have a different composition. You do a different way. Like you say, for some people, they have to really overcompensate to push the ball downward. Your muscle is different than the muscle of the guy who's teaching.
I wasn't hitting the same shot. Like I wasn't
It's
hitting the
not.
right shot. Like I mean, I knew what I needed to do. I knew I needed to get the ball down, right?
Mhm.
Like this is where like epiphanies happen, right? Where you're like, okay, well, if I got to get the ball down, this is when I started hitting a different slice shot. So
Mhm.
this is gonna, I'm gonna have to like zoom down a little bit so you can see my hands. So when you're hitting, I thought when you hit a slice shot, you want to hit. God, I need a ball. Let me grab this thing. Right, give me a second. This isn't a ball, but it's a pumpkin. All right, let's just pretend this is a tennis ball. Like when you want to slice, you want to hit the back of the ball back here, right?
Mhm.
Hit down here, so the ball so it goes like that, right? Like
Right. Right.
you want to chop it so it goes this way. So
Right.
everybody always said, like, you know, the right way to hit a slice shot is you come through it, you hit back, and then you go forward, right? Like it's almost like a glide through, right? That's what the traditional slice shot is. And I tried that a million times, and all it did, the ball would float. I could get it in. It would float a little bit up like this, and then it would,
Mhm.
and it would cut and blah, blah, blah. Well, I was like, fuck that. Like, what if I just came across the top like this and went that way, right? Like, right? Like at the back end of it over here. And this is how like a lot of like the pros hit it, like that I found out, you know. This
Mhm.
is like took me like a month or like half of a month to hit it this way to go, well, it does that, but like, you know, and I don't mind the shot, but it's not really a weapon. It's really just a defensive, almost like loft back to you know, where it's spinning backwards, but it doesn't do anything. Well, I was like, well, what if I just tried to chop it out of the air for like out here in front of me and come across this way? So I did. I just got way higher and like chopped through like this. And it's really like, you know, firm, but also loose when I was hitting the ball. And the ball just knifes down, like just like beautiful, like just straight cut, like, you know, like exactly what I'm doing right now. You see how my hand's going like this?
Right.
Like,
Right. Right.
ball goes exactly. I was doing this before, and now I was doing this, right? So like when I would hit a volley, I was trying to actually keep my hand closed, and I was going like this. I said, fuck it. I'm just gonna chop it down as it's coming in, and it started hitting great backhand volleys one-handed, because before I would have to go like this. When I would try to go like this, you see how my hands kind of tilt, the ball would hit right here and it would go that way.
And it walks up.
And you don't want that because you can't control that. And it would always do that my whole life. This is why I would take my normal two-handed backhand and I would go like this across the top, chop down, right? Well, the same motion of this is this. Like, you know. So I mean, these were the things that I was like realizing in my own head as I was going, well, fucking A. Like, I mean, like, I was like, I can't believe like it's really not a hard shot. Like, and I mean, my whole life it's been like one of those, I don't know how to hit that shot, you know, and it was a big aha moment for me, you know, like, I mean, I know this sounds dumb, but it's like a big aha moment. Like, and I never would have learned this if
because you cannot learn from anyone else because you have a set of strengths and weaknesses. Whether your forehand is better or backhand is better, or certain, you know, going downward motion, you have a stronger muscle group that actually does a strong hand downward, and you use your strength for it. And no one can teach you that because they don't have the same composition as you do. So you will never get the insight. That's why practicing is the only way to improve on whatever you have.
That's correct.
And even that's why we don't want to be the philosopher. We can say, hey, I practice philosophy, but I'm not a philosopher. I'm not telling you to do anything.
Right.
And,
exactly.
and to me, you know, that's the key. Living your core values is your core values will give you feedback on the things that you do, whether or not it aligns or doesn't align. Because if you say, hey, you know, I think grits is good. I like grit. Everybody likes grit. You know, I think, you know, having a hustling personality is good, blah blah blah, right? And it sounds good, but when you practice it, it's like it's awful because you
have no energy, everything
is not aligned with it, right?
Depleted, you know, it sucks.
It sucks because you think about it. Hey, a person like me say, hey, you know, maybe I should be a little bit more charming and a little more suave and have a this personality of having, you know, very, but it doesn't fit my personality. I want to get into trouble because I have no fun trying to be all nice and mannered and you know. So the same thing is I can't take something and then I put it in practice. But if I don't put it in practice, there's no feedback loop to hey, no one knows it until you start to put it into practice. So practice and go to the mountain, go back valley, and do that cycle on a daily basis is super important to determine what fits you and what doesn't fit you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like there's no other way to do it.
Exactly.
There is no other way to do this. Like, I mean, like once again, a desk is a dangerous place to view the world. It is really dangerous. Like Jordan Peterson has no idea what it's like to be a transgender person. I don't care what your thoughts are on it. Like, I don't know what it's like to be a transgender person.
That's why the thing that he has, been experienced personally, it makes more sense, right? And it has more people can connect with that. But everybody else is like, hey, you just talking about things you learn in some books.
Right.
It's not the same thing. You say, well, you can choose to be or not to be transgender. Like, well, the thing is, how do you know? Well, I mean, you can't cope with your own monsters. Why do you think they can? I mean, you're looking at like, hey, people who are addicted to something. Maybe they are gambling addict or they drug addicts or whatever addiction they have, right? It's not that they're a bad person and they want to become that. They just can't help themselves because, I mean, like I told you, there's some people that is in this depth of pain, right? They can't get out of it. You have to have somebody external to pull them out. Because if you and I are in a trance, or maybe you and I become hypnotized, right? We can't get out of our hypnosis. You just can't. Somebody has to physically break that hypnosis.
It happened tonight. I was telling you about this. The reason why we're on so late tonight is because I was playing pickleball and I was in a trance and I didn't even realize what time it was. And the only reason the trance was broken is because it started to get a little dark outside.
Right.
And I was
externality, right?
and this light bulb clicked on in my head of going, it's getting dark out. It's got to be time for True and I to talk. And I was like, oh God, what time is it? And
that's a break. That's a break in time because the environment never changes. I guarantee you. You would never think about, hey, I have this to do, I have that to do. No. You will never do that because that's what I'm saying is it has to be an externality to break the trance. So when people are in a certain thing, they are in some sort of trance. You can't just start to shame them and say, hey, you can choose. No, they can't. They don't choose to be an addict. They don't choose to be, whatever. Regardless of how it happens, right? It's not like they say, well, I think that, I want to be I guess the opposite of what people wants me to be. I want to be, whatever things they think the society is acceptable, right? And people want to belong and be, I guess, consistent with the view of society. People do.
It's rational thought. It's your system,
right? So, but people
do. Thinking about it,
But when you live inside of your own society, your own skin, it conflicts. And when it conflicts, it creates pain. And when it creates pain, then you say, well, I do want to not be in this, be an addict, not to be transgender, not to be whatever. But I don't feel right if I do what you think I should do. So that to me is something that, like I said, I can't tell anyone about anything that I can't experience myself.
Not at all.
I have no right in saying that. And to me, even if you have similar, right? You have similar symptoms. Let's say I'm a diabetic and you're also diabetic. I can't tell you how to live as a diabetic because then you have a completely different composition than I do. Even though we have similar, disease or whatever, it's not the same. No. Your body processes your sugar differently than my body is. So I can't tell you. You have to say, okay, this is one of the solutions that I've tried and it works for me. You can try and see if you can make it your own. You have to make it your own because you are uniquely you. You can't have somebody exactly. Even the twins doesn't have the exact same composition as you do. And so the solution has to be your own. It cannot be someone else's. You can use this as inspiration. You can use as a primer to figure out what insight, what feedback you can get from it, and then create your own unique solution that fits your particular composition. And to me, that's the philosophy that I can subscribe to. I'm not a philosopher, but we have a lot of philosophy that we live by. This is good.
It is. It's very good. I'm not gonna do it because I got to go to bed. It is late and I gotta eat. I haven't even eaten dinner yet because I was in a trance playing pickleball, and then I wanted to do what we normally do, which is fun. So all these things have been fun for me, but I forgot to eat in the process, and I need to go to sleep. So
All right.
so let me go. Let me go to bed. I don't want to do this. I was about ready to. I literally looked at the clock and I was like, I fucking told you, like 10 o'clock, and it's 10:10, and I would have kept going, like if I mean. Anyway, okay.
And you keep going if you don't have responsibility, because you have the responsibility.
I gotta go to bed and I gotta eat
Yeah.
some food. I gotta find some time to eat some food tonight. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for joining. And the question that we can leave for you is, are you brave enough to put your ideas out into the real world or not? So get out there, mix it up.
And there's only one answer to that.
Yes, get out there and do it.
Good night, everybody.